DCM works, I spent a lot of my life running this imaginary TV and radio station. It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is...
Because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There's a big lesson here to learn about storytelling. Hey guys, welcome back to the Art for Artists podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works. My name is David, DCM, Creative Director, Lead Writer. And I'm joined as always by my co-host Ben.
Hi.
It's really cold in Brisbane.
Oh my god. Today has been the coldest day in just, probably a couple of years, to be honest.
Probably
last winter wasn't bad.
Probably in the history of the world.
Oh, yeah.
And this week we're talking about the meaning of Bojack Horseman.
I don't want to cry.
Oh boy.
So season 3 will...
Well, ideally...
Won't be out by the time this goes out.
This will go out just before it comes out, which is perfect. It's almost like I planned this, Ben. Right, so let's talk about your beers. You're gonna have a... Oh no, you're fine.
No,
I was watching your beer.
No,
you did that
as
thing
well.
where you sipped a little too quickly, and the
too
beer was like
aggressively.
bubbling a little bit close to the top. Also, don't drink and stay in school, or whatever.
Yeah. Do drugs.
Did what? No.
do school.
No. Whoa. Red flag. Ben,
Okay.
red flag. Okay. So BoJack Horseman
It's
is maybe one of the best shows ever made.
Yeah, I can agree with
It's
that.
up there with Rick and Morty.
I wouldn't say Rick and Morty is the best show ever made.
No. But I mean, like, it's like as far as its caliber of. It's way better than Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
It's like my top shows are like. God, I haven't really thought about this in a long time. But I guess like BoJack Horseman is maybe my favorite show.
But it's my favorite.
Yeah.
It's just... There's something
So it
about
follows. So the basic. I don't know if you don't know, it's on Netflix or whatever. But basically, the premise is that you follow the life of Bojack, who was a famous. He was on a famous soap opera in the 90s, and he made just all of the money, and he's now effectively. It's kind of set nowish.
He's also a horse.
He's a horseman.
Yeah.
Bojack Horseman is his name. And it's this world where some animals are anthropomorphized.
All animals.
All animals are.
Some of them are just dumb.
Some of them are just dumb. Yeah. Retarded chickens are eaten.
Yeah. And none of them have tails, except for the ones that they eat.
Yes.
The retarded chickens.
Yep. So you get... Well, no, Mr. Peanut Butter has a tail.
No, he doesn't. Mr. Peanut Butter does not have a tail.
Whoa, that's weird.
He
I
doesn't.
guess he doesn't.
He doesn't have a tail.
Oh, okay, there you go.
None of the animals have tails.
Except for the ones that they eat.
Yeah.
So they're retarded ones, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically the premise is that he is a retired... Well, he's not retired, but he's a once famous, now
He's a
kind of
washed
washed
up,
up...
yeah.
Washed up celebrity. He has like a McMansion in the Hollywood Hills.
In the Hollywood Hills.
Yep. And he's trying to get his shit together and trying to find a way to be happy.
It's like a slice of life kind of thing, except it's good, and it follows it's slices of life that aren't appealing at all.
Well, yeah, it's
It's like the worst cake imaginable.
The way that I think about it, it's like if you took a typical film, right?
Sure.
About if you took like a romance, right? And so romance is a slice of life.
And you replace the female with alcohol.
Well, kind of, yeah. So like the way that you structure romance is that you take slices of life of that relationship at certain points to build a narrative,
Yeah.
right? BoJack Horseman is like if you did that, but instead of taking the bits that you cut in, you just like hit Control-I.
Oh, you
And
just
you got all of the other scenes.
all the
So
other
instead
bits,
of all
yeah.
the happy shit, you got everything else.
Yeah.
And that's BoJack's entire life.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Aaron the other night. We were having a few beers, and God, I sound like a real alcoholic on this show sometimes.
It's because you are.
I mean, I am, but that's not the point.
Yeah.
And we were talking about. He was saying that someone had said to him the other day, and this was sort of we were talking about Game of Thrones and BoJack Horseman and stuff. And he was like, "Yeah, the best kinds of narratives are ones where you start at the top, and then it just gets progressively worse."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's BoJack Horseman."
Yeah.
And the truth is,
seasons,
anything good that happens to your characters they have to be worse off for it.
Yeah.
And that happens with literally everything good in BoJack's life.
Yeah.
That we see.
Well, I think the strongest point of BoJack Horseman is that there is like a main character. Well, in season 1 there is one main character.
Yeah, we focus
and
on
it's
Bojack.
Horseman.
Yep.
But in season 2 in particular, they sort of flesh out a lot of the other storylines. So they flesh out Diane's storyline. Well, Diane and Mr. Peanut Butter. They flesh out Todd a little bit. They flesh out Princess Carolyn. There's basically 3 running storylines in season 2. 3.5 if you include Todd. So
Well, we'll talk about Todd later because I have some interesting thoughts about the reason that they do that.
So because there's so many characters and they're all shit. They're all fucking horrible human beings.
It's kind of like
animals.
It's sort of like Arrested Development. Everyone's an asshole. Like,
so it's they're not all horrible people. They all have something wrong with them essentially.
yeah,
And it does a really good job because, especially with season 2, you can pretty much talk to anyone who's watched it, and they will identify really closely with at least one character.
Yep.
Like, you'll have some people who sort of didn't really get BoJack Horseman, but like got crushed by Diane's storyline because it's like exactly the same shit they're going through.
I know a lot of people like Diane.
Yeah, and there's some people who are like, they watch it and they're like, fucking Peanut Butter, and you're like, I don't get it. Peanut Butter is like a joke character. It's like, no, you don't get it.
Yeah, no.
Mr. Peanut Butter is like,
Yeah, my stepdad is like
rough.
My stepdad is pretty much Mr. Peanut
yeah,
Butter.
and then you get just a lot of people who are like, depression sucks.
Yeah.
I'm basically BoJack Horseman. Yep, and it's because everyone associates really heavily with at least one character. Like, most people just have a really close connection.
It cuts so close to the bone.
Yeah.
Every time, there's never an episode where you don't go fuck at the end, and that is such a hard thing to do. So I've just finished rewatching it, right?
Yeah, I rewatched it a few weeks back.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'd forgotten that I liked about the show. So I associate very heavily with BoJack for what is like a handful of obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I forgot that I really really strongly agree with is the message that you get from Diane's arc in season 2. So she decides to go overseas to help this war-torn country.
Yeah, with some
famous millionaire
that she basically idols and thinks.
And it turns out that he's just like an awful person like everyone else.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to do it because it's not making her happy. And so she comes back.
But she doesn't want to disappoint.
She doesn't want to disappoint Mr. Peanut Butter, but it's also that she doesn't want to go back to the life that she had because she knew that wasn't working either.
Yeah.
So she pitches up on BoJack's couch for what ends up being 4 months.
Oh, it's
lying
longer than that.
to Mr. Peanut Butter.
It's way longer than 4 months.
Well, how long is he in Mexico? It's like 3 months, right?
For 3 months.
Yeah,
it could be about,
it's about
4 months.
Yeah. But
she's there for a while before.
Yeah, and she lies to Mr. Peanut Butter about being in wherever the war-torn country is. She's like, I'm over there.
Cordova.
I think. Cordova, I don't know. Whatever.
Something like that, yeah.
It might be the same fictitious place from the Marvel. I'm not sure.
Dunno.
Universe. But it doesn't matter. So she lies to him that she's over there. And she's basically just like a hot mess. Like, she's drinking.
Yeah.
She's eating shit. She's,
living on couches, literally.
She's literally just like a slob living.
She's
in
just
Bojack's.
bumming. Yeah.
And so, because he's away for like 3
Yeah, because
months.
he's conveniently not
So she
there,
just
so she
stays
just stays. Yeah.
Yeah, and Todd's obviously got his own life going on, so he
Well,
doesn't.
he's
he also-
insane. He's in a cult at that stage. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
So she's just got the house to herself and Bojack's unlimited funds. So she just is like living her life however she wants, and she just basically bums around. But what's really interesting is she gets back into the world because of an offer from Princess Carolyn, basically. Princess Carolyn is starting a new company, and she's like, I want you to come write tweets for celebrities.
Oh, yeah, she's like, I need you to do my social media.
Because you're a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
And Diane's like, so the thing that crushed me about that particular arc is Diane gets her shit together a bit. Mr. Peanut Butter sees her in Bojack's restaurant.
Yeah, the resolution's rough.
And he thinks... So he calls her, and she picks up. He's looking at her. They're literally looking at each other. They have a phone call. Then, toward the end of it, he goes... It's weird, there's this woman here that looks like you in this restaurant.
That's the thing.
So here's the thing. Here's why.
Well, he knows.
Yeah, he knows. But they are both
sort of.
They're in such a fucked up place that she lets him pretend. Like, it's just fucked. She's like, well, if I get on a plane now, I can be back by tonight. He's like, yeah, I really like that. And then, but that, like, it's
Because it's like
brutal.
It's peanut butter. Peanut butter's probably the weirdest character because in the first season he's just comedy relief. Like he's nothing.
He comes in, he does a bunch of funny shit.
Yeah, he just fucks around.
And he's also a source of tension for Bojack and Diane.
Yeah, but then in the second season, you realize you find out in the fucking Hollywood stars. Well, they don't know. Do they know things? Let's find out.
Yeah.
You find out that he knows what he's doing. Like he fully understands everything.
And
like
he's just as bad as Bojack.
He's just as bad as Bojack, but he's just better at hiding it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
which is really scary because
he's like the only character you think is genuinely happy.
But he's not.
But
he's just better at hiding it than Bojack is.
Well, see, I don't know because before Diane, like.
But that's the thing. He's hiding it from Diane as well.
Yeah, he hides it from every. See, the thing is, like Bojack.
It only really pops up when he truly confronts Bojack in that episode.
Well, yeah, all that, and kind of like when Diane, before Diane leaves and he throws her a party. And it's really for him. Like,
yeah.
Like, he throws her this big party, and, like, he knows that she doesn't like parties, right? Like, they are married, and, like, it's literally, like, every time they go to a party, she's always uncomfortable. It's a big through line in the show.
Yeah.
She hates parties. And he throws her this massive surprise party after what was, like, a perfect day together for her birthday.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can't believe you've ruined this.
But that's before the reveal that he's completely on top. That's the clever thing about... I mean... In my opinion, Season 2 is just better in every way than Season 1.
Which is what you want.
Yeah.
And it's necessary. Like, Season 1 is necessary.
It's necessary to set up Season 2 to have all of these different
to be as good
storylines.
as it is.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
And it's because of, like, there's so much different things with the pacing and when things are revealed and when, like, things happen that, you know, you have, like, the party between the Diane's party, and that's before you realize, where you get sort of told that, like, you know, Peanut Butter isn't just a moron.
Yeah.
Like, he knows what he's doing. He's just sort of good at seeming different on the outside than he is on the inside.
Yeah. And whether or not that, you know, we don't really know how complex that relationship is with him and himself. Like, we don't really get a feel for whether or not he is genuinely unhappy on the inside.
Oh, no. There is a line in one of the episodes where he's recounting, like, one time he got drunk or something, and... he says the line, I'm trying to remember what it is, but it's along the lines of he's recounting a story about how he got so drunk that he started barking at a mirror, and he says the line, he's like, I was so angry, he was wearing my clothes, and you're like, fuck. Like, that line says so much about how he perceives himself, that when he sees someone, you know, when he sees his reflection, when he's drunk and, like, he wants to attack it.
Jesus. Oh, fuck. That just hit me.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
There are a lot of really subtle lines that come out like jokes, but reveal a heap of amount about his character.
That's a lot of the show.
And it's the same kind of thing where it's just like, if you're the kind of person who can associate with something like that, you'll pick it up immediately. Like, there are lines, like, probably...
See, I don't have that, because I don't... Like, that's never... Like, I don't... Like, I have such high self-worth, like, inherent self-worth that I never...
It just glosses over you.
Yeah, it would never occur to me that I would dislike what I see in a mirror, you know?
Like, the scene when Bojack and Wanda break up, a lot of people quote the line, when you're wearing rose-tinted glasses, red flags just look like flags. Which is a good line, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
and it's from Wanda, and a lot of people associate that with that. Like, a lot of people who have been in shitty relationships where they thought, oh, this is fine, you know. It's that idea that red flags when you...
Yeah, they just look like flags.
Yeah. But to me, the line that hits me the most in that is the one that Bojack says, where she says, what happened? And he says the same thing that always happens. You don't know me, you fall in love with me, and then you know me.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that hits me a lot harder. You fell in love with me,
and then you got to know me.
Yeah, like, to me, that hits me a lot harder, and it's like, it's this idea where whoever is, like, as a viewer, they put so many things in that, to most people... will just seem like dialogue between characters, but every now and then one line of dialogue will hit you and you'll be like, fuck me.
And it just crushes you. And a lot of the time you don't really know why. You're just like, that was incredibly sad. And it takes you a few minutes and you're like, oh fuck. Like it hits you again, you're like, oh, that's why that was so close to home.
Yeah.
That line in particular is so like, it's brutal. And you know, the truth is that that's a lot of people's experiences with people and relationships, and I think Bojack and Wanda form really interesting ends of the spectrum, you know, where she falls in love with him.
Well, she's innately naive because she was in a coma for 20 years.
But but she's also deliberately naive.
Yeah,
because he's doing a bit. It's like a joke in the show, but he's doing a bit where he wants to
autoerotic asphyxiation.
Yeah. And it's like a funny like haha, and he goes to like this crazy length, and there's like an elephant in the room, which is hilarious. And it's like this funny thing, and you're like haha, whatever. But Wanda is so like deliberately naive that she chooses not to see that as a problem. She's like, oh well, I know why he's doing this, and I'm just gonna wait it out because I know he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Then at the end of the episode, when Bojack's co-star kills himself, basically the implication is that Wanda was deliberately naive enough that the thing that Bojack was doing that we and her are like, oh, that's so dumb, he's never going to do that.
Killed someone else.
Yeah. And the truth is, her naivety pretty much does the same thing for their relationship.
Yeah, in a sense.
Because she kind of forces herself not to get to know the real Bojack so that she can fall in love with him.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of red flags. Like, even when they're at Diane's party or whatever and they're in the car, she tells a really good joke.
Oh, God, that joke is incredible.
It's genius.
It's actually the best. I've told that to people like who haven't like watched BoJack Horseman, and it works every time. It's
a
fucking
joke.
brilliant.
It's a joke in discrete parts.
There's two parts to it, and you have to set it up and you really have to tell it well. But fuck me, it's a good joke.
It's so clever. But that joke is kind of, I always think that's sort of like an interesting, like almost like it represents Wanda really well.
Well, yeah, it shows that...
Shows that she knows a little more what's going on than she lets on.
Well, it's also... I find it that it's... You know, the line she says after telling the end of the joke is, you know, sometimes you have to wait for things to get better. But
the show's all about the opposite.
Yeah, the show's the opposite, where just things just always get worse.
Eventually, yeah.
You only... Like, the only time that both the seasons really let up is the start and the end. Yeah. And because they constantly just sort of roller coaster you through, and they do a good job of like going down, and then when you think you're at the lowest, it'll just plummet for like the last couple of episodes.
They lull you into a flat line, and then they drop you.
And then they drop you off a cliff.
Oh, fuck me.
But they'll always come up a little bit at the end, like not much, not enough to recover how far down you've gone, but a little bit.
Enough that you're like, oh, this, you know.
Enough that you don't go away shaking, you just go away feeling horrible.
Instead of feeling sad, you feel empty.
That's a good way to put it.
Exactly. Like, you know, the end. Season 2 ends with a song from Courtney Barnett, and it's beautiful. Like,
well, to me, I more associate. Again, this is just a way the show just has different sort of associations. Like, I found the last dialogue between Bojack and the gorilla guy that appears in every episode. Monkey. Yeah, he's a baboon, actually.
Yeah, whatever.
So we're both wrong.
Whatever, Trevor. Don't care.
I find that the most interesting because it's...
You gotta do it every day.
Well, it's like the whole show is basically about depression. Well, season 1 is. Season 2, it expands, which is nice. But that whole idea of, you know, you have to do it every day, that's the hard part.
Yeah,
rather than just doing... Like, doing it isn't hard. Like, once you get over the hurdles of dealing with depression, like you get into a groove, but it's always, you know, whenever you get into a low point, it's getting out of those low points, and it's always really convenient that every morning is a low point.
See, yeah, I see. I don't necessarily, for me, and this isn't true for everyone, but for me, the show isn't necessarily about depression. It's more about happiness. Like, this is just me because I don't really view it as depression. This is from someone that I don't have depression.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, I'm a human, so I get sad a lot because being alive is awful. But one of the things that's interesting about, like, for me, this show is really about what do you do, you know, because people do this thing where they set a goal, right? They're like, when I get to that goal, I will be happier, right?
Yeah.
To get to the goal, they're the same they were before. Set a new goal and you keep going, right?
Yeah.
Bojack does this thing throughout the show where he's like, if I can get to this next thing, it will make me happy.
Yeah.
If I can go and reconcile with my, you know, the old producer of the show who's dying of cancer, it will make me happy. If I can go
cancer?
Yeah. If I can go and reconnect with this old sort of this person who he thinks is like this old flame that he had, but not really. That'll make me happy.
Yeah.
And what it turns out, of course, is that nothing makes him happy because he isn't capable of being happy.
Yeah.
Because some people, like, he's not necessarily depressed to me. He just isn't capable of being happy, and that's different than depression. Because, you know, someone like I don't know, that to me was always like sort of the more complex thing about Bojack is that, and it gets a bit high concept when you try and sort of abstract it, but like he is really interesting because he doesn't actually have anything inherently wrong with him. Like, he was emotionally abused as a kid, and that sort of obviously has had some consequences.
Yeah.
But like, there's nothing really actually wrong with him, and he has a pretty decent life. Like, he's got money, he can kind of do whatever he wants. But the problem is, the minute that he can do what he wants, he doesn't want anything.
Yeah.
And so he's never really happy because he can't really ever find a thing that he wants that... Like, everything that he chooses to want he thinks will make him happy, but he chooses them deliberately because he knows they won't.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, I'll go off to Diane because I know that that'll make me happy. But somewhere in his head, he's like, but I know that it's not going to end well, and it'll give me another excuse to not be happy. Right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the hardest thing is to acknowledge that you don't really have a reason to not be happy. And so Bojack kind of keeps endlessly seeking reasons to be happy, but in reality, like, you know, subconsciously, he's sort of doing the opposite of that.
Yeah.
He's finding ways and excuses and reasons to keep being miserable. Because it's easy to be miserable than, you know, enjoy your life or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I find, because I've gone through depression a few years ago, I find that it's like, yeah, from an overarching perspective, the show isn't just about depression, but it has enough sort of, like, little winks and nudges to the fact...
What is that?
I think it was my phone. Little like winks and nudges to the sort of idea that Bojack is very clinically Bojack is clinically depressed, and it's always the really subtle things like the fact that he can't cry around other people because he never does. He only cries when he's like alone after the situation. You know, the fact that he has panic attacks. You know, just all these. You know, the sort of overarching idea that even though his life is, in theory, perfect, like, great and fine, because he's got money and a house in Hollywood, that, you know, like, it's this idea that he's trying to chase happiness, and it's how do I put it? There is this overarching idea that he's trying to chase happiness and it's not working. That isn't really a depression thing. That's just... He's trying to chase...
That's a being alive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's enough sort of subtle clues and sort of hints in it that do, you know, sort of show that, like, he possibly is clinically depressed. And, like, obviously, you know, especially at the start of, like, season 2, when he's like, I'm gonna get better and I'm gonna have a brand new attitude, and he's hashtagging everything. But that lasts for about half an episode.
That also ruins his job. So he's on Secretariat.
Yeah.
And because he's got this new happy-go-lucky attitude...
Oh, he can't act.
He can't do the role because the role is about someone that is suffering through depression.
Yeah,
and is a complex character.
I think that is... Yeah, that's kind of interesting because it's sort of it's from the perspective of, like, he could play the role if he wasn't, you know, happy, and he was just actually, well, fake happy.
Yeah, well, because he's choosing, like... That's what I was saying before. He's choosing to have this new attitude now because some part of him knows that he can't sustain it when he's doing this job.
Yeah. So and he's trying to just sort of fake it, almost fake it till he makes it. But he knows he can't. Yeah. So it's easier. Yeah. The intro to season 2 is really interesting from that idea because the happiness that he gets through drinking bubble tea and whatever, it only lasts for a very short time. And when he goes back to being quote-unquote himself, he doesn't really do much of a better job anyway. Like, yeah, he gets the what are you doing here shot, which took them, like, an entire day. But, like, the rest of the shot doesn't go well because he gets sad. In fact, it gets worse.
Yeah.
Because the movie just goes to shit. Yeah. For whatever reason.
Yeah, for extraneous reasons. The directors change... The script gets rewritten.
Yeah.
Shitty.
Turns into a Christmas film or some shit.
It becomes trash.
And I find that interesting because it's sort of like, it's almost like it's a consequence for Bojack. It's just like you tried to be happy, and that's not okay. You're not allowed to be happy.
Exactly.
So we're gonna fuck up the one thing you've wanted since literally you were like 10.
Yeah.
Was to be Secretariat, and now that you have this opportunity, which at the end of season 1 was his sort of gateway. It was his like, this will make me happy.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the thing that I've always wanted to do, and maybe that'll be the start of what I need.
And they make a reference to that idea at the end of season 2, which is when he's talking to Diane, and she says, "Do you really think that going to New York and doing this Broadway thing, do you think it'll make you happy?" And Bojack is like, "Yeah, for a little bit." And that's exactly what Secretariat did for him, and Secretariat was like the thing he's wanted the most in his life.
brutal.
And then he fucks off to, or is this is when he gets back from, or is it when before he leaves?
No, it's when he gets back from Mexico, and that he doesn't know if he's gonna go yet. And so he says to Diane, like, they're talking about what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
And that's when he says that, and that is like such a, like, that's another one of those moments where it's just like way too close to the bone.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's self-aware of it too makes it even worse somehow.
That's the problem with all of it. It's just so,
the characters, like the
characters know exactly what's going on.
They're like people. Like,
Yeah.
they're very well realized. You know, they understand that what they're doing a lot of the time is pointless and doesn't make sense. But what else can you do?
Yeah.
And that's really like, I mean, the show is just, it's sad. Like, I don't know. It's sad, but it's also about this area of people that we don't ever really talk about.
I find it somewhat cathartic.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where, I mean, I always have this saying that if you ever say you're like on like a second date with someone, and like you've gone past the boring like dinner, and now you're just like home watching Netflix or something, don't watch Bojack Horseman, because it will ruin that relationship immediately. Because you'll watch it, and you'll see things happen in the show that you are doing at that moment in time.
Yep.
And it will just reveal that what you're doing is fucking stupid, and it'll ruin everything. Just don't watch Bojack Horseman with anyone that you care about, because it will, like, watch it separately, because then you'll have,
and you'll also get different things from it too.
yeah, but
That's the thing.
but there's a lot of things where, like, you know, you can be watching it with like your best friend, and it'll ruin the friendship because the scenes between like Mr. Peanut Butter and Bojack maybe will just, or like Todd and Bojack will just reveal the fact that
Todd and Bojack
you and your friend are Todd. One of you is Todd and one of you is Bojack, and you're just like, fuck, this is horrible.
Yeah, you're like, this is a weirdly symbiotic thing.
Like it's the kind of thing where it's like you have to watch it on your own, because it's so revealing and so just like intricate and human, even though
so
everyone is
human.
an animal.
That's the whole point of why they're animals.
Yeah.
Is because it lets,
if they were humans, they would seem like caricatures.
it lets them in. It lets the door open a little, like, just enough for ridiculous things to happen.
Yeah.
That when they do, when ridiculously sad shit happens, you're just in the right mindset for it to get through.
Yeah,
if it was people, you'd be like, oh well, that's not realistic because of blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
you'd be thinking like, oh, no one actually acts like that, because
But obviously, no one in the show does because they're animals.
yeah,
So you don't
it's
have that
fine.
reaction. You don't have that knee-jerk reaction. And I think that's, you're definitely right. It's very cathartic. It's the kind of thing where if you're in a really bad place mentally,
It'll fuck you up, but
probably
be for the better in the long run.
for the right reasons.
Yeah.
It's like I just finished the end of season 2, and I've been working through some stuff the last few months, and like it put me in a place where I was like, okay, I'm ready to kind of address some stuff now, because I've kind of got my head back around what is going on.
Yeah.
And it's a really, I don't know, it's a good show for sort of resetting yourself a little bit and realizing as well, like, these characters have awful things happen to them, and they do awful things, and some of them are awful people, but they're still just, like, the truth of the show is that none of them are awful people. They're just people that sometimes do awful things.
Yeah.
And they sometimes keep doing them, and sometimes they do good things for the wrong reasons, and sometimes they do the wrong things for the right reasons. And, like, it's very much about that idea that
Every now and then, someone will do the good thing for a good reason.
and
It's rare,
but it won't work out well. Like,
yeah.
but you know, and that's slightly comforting because we spend a lot of time doing shit that we think is going to work out well or make us happy or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it ends the same way every time. You're back where you started. Because at some point you have to return to your baseline.
Yeah.
And you can't really escape your baseline. You can just kind of learn to acknowledge where it is.
Yeah.
That's the thing that sort of Bojack starts to do at the end of season 2, is he kind of starts to realize that my baseline is I'm going to be unhappy.
Well, for me, I find the ending of season 2 is more of an idea that you can go up from your baseline, but you'll eventually fall. But you can improve your baseline.
You can slowly improve your baseline.
You can slowly improve your
You
baseline.
have to
It's
keep
not
working
as
on it.
yeah, but you have to keep working on it, and it's not going. You'll never get as high as you will without improving your baseline. But you just kind of have to, or else you'll be stuck at wherever your baseline currently is.
Yeah, and that's a tough kind of. I mean, when
it's a tough message, but it's a necessary message,
and it's one that you aren't. We don't get anywhere.
It doesn't appear anywhere else.
Like that. That's the thing. Like this kind of like the conversations that happen in the show. Some of them are funny. Some of them are ridiculous. Even some of the sad shit is funny, right? But the conversations that happen aren't ones that we get enough.
Yeah.
It's real in I don't know. Like it's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important because it acknowledges a whole bunch of things which people kind of push to the side and they pretend aren't really happening. So if you haven't watched it, well, I mean, you really...
What are you doing? What the fuck?
Well, yeah. Also, what are you doing?
Goddamn.
Well, some people just listen every week, Ben. I know that's crazy.
Well, you need to watch Bojack
Yeah,
Horseman.
please do. But watch it.
Season 3 is coming out on the 22nd of July.
Sounds right.
Very soon.
My only suggestion is
Watch them all.
well, watch them all, but also
Don't binge watch. Like, you can binge watch a season, but don't binge watch one season and then immediately go to the next because you won't wake up.
yeah, you won't. And the other thing is depending on how old you are, there's not like an amazing amount of swearing or anything, but like watch the first episode and then because it's a little confronting if you're a bit younger.
Yeah, don't watch it if you're a kid.
I don't know what the rating is on Netflix, but yeah, definitely sort of.
It's definitely a more mature show.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my only thing.
It's the kind of thing where it's just like you can watch it as a kid and you won't get offended. There's nothing inherently offensive about it. You'll probably think it's funny, but you won't get anything out of it.
Yeah,
and you'll be living your life thinking I've seen BoJack Horseman and it's overrated because you haven't had the shitty life experiences for it to really connect with you.
Yeah,
it'd just be a waste of time.
Yeah,
and a waste of a show.
Yeah, and I also think that then you.
It's like doing a bunch of weed and then getting desensitized to weed. It's just like, it's unfortunate. You'd get desensitized to watching BoJack Horseman for the first time.
Exactly.
Like, you want it to be special. You want your first time to be special.
always want your first time
There's
to be
only one
special.
time with BoJack Horseman.
We've always said that at DCM.
Yeah.
If you're gonna fuck a horse. All right.
That only happens once.
I know that hot nonsense. We're out of here, guys. Where can people find us, Ben?
What?
Where can people find us?
Oh, on the internet.
Don't eat nuts. We're not done yet.
Oh, damn it. I'm real hungry.
Patreon.com/DCMworks. If you want to help support us, chip us.
DCM_works.
At DC, yep, on Twitter. If you want to chip us $1 or we follow hashtag AFAPod.
We accept Australian dollars, US dollars, and the Commonwealth dollar-do.
The dollar-do. And this podcast is also powered by Hover.com. They provide and help you
Woo!
Yeah! Round of applause.
Thank you, Hover.
They help you transfer and manage your domains. They're cheap. They're super easy to use. They don't use that same shitty template that Domain.com and all the other big guys use for their fucking website.
Namecheap.
It's easy to fucking navigate. It's so easy. If you want to get $2 off a transfer or a purchase of a domain, you can grab our referral link in the show notes, and we really appreciate it. Gets you some cheap, good service, and helps out the show. And that's really what it's all about, Ben. It's all about helping out the show.
It's all about that selling out, man.
Man, look. DCM Works goes corporate.
Yeah.
DCM Works sells out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we're doing, guys. So if you want to see us sell out next week, you can join us then. But otherwise, we'll see you guys next time. Nothing?
Bye.
It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as
Makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is
Because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
We went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There is a big lesson here to learn about storytelling.